So in the last session, we discussed about navigation commands. Okay, and then we discussed about checkboxes and radio buttons. So today we are going to discuss about dropdowns and web tables. So we'll see based on the time, we'll try to cover both the things. So first we're going to discuss about dropdowns. So first of all, what is a dropdown? Okay, so that we need to understand. So yeah, fine. So let me open a sample website and show you. So what exactly dropdown will be there and how exactly it will look like. So first we should know HTML code. So then we'll see how to handle the dropdowns. So let me open a sample website or in HRM. This you can use for your automation purpose also. Okay. So let me log into this website. Okay. Okay. So let's say when I go to the recruitment tab here, if you see job title field is available, right? Job title field is available. So once I click on this, there are multiple options available under job title, where we can select any option, single option inside this job title. Okay. So I can select data administrator, I can select automation tester, I can select what are the different types of jobs that are available from this drop down. I can select any one of the value. So this is called as drop down. So when we click on this, we'll get multiple options are available where we can select any one of the option or we can choose any one of the option. This is called as drop down element. Okay. So how to handle this? Before handling this, what is the HTML code that looks like for this drop down elements? So let me inspect this element. Okay. For this drop down element. So this is a drop down. Let me inspect this. Okay. So this is a drop down element that we can see. So drop down element starts with a select tag. The tag is select tag, where we can have any number of attributes. Okay. So this drop down element is identified with the select tag. Once we expand this, there are multiple child elements are available. Okay. So each one will be represented with a option tag. Okay. So each option will be one option from the drop down. Okay. The first option, if you see, all will be available, right? The second option is AAA, not triple R, AAA. And the third option is automation tester. Similarly, we have multiple options available. Each one will be an option inside the select tag. So the visible text, whatever you can see, the text is present in between the option tag. Okay. So there are multiple option tags are available where the complete element. Okay. There are multiple elements are available. So how many number of drop-down values are present? Those many options are available inside the select tag. All these options are childs of select. Okay. So normally the drop-down is identified with select tag, and the options inside the drop-down are with the starting with option tag. So these are the elements complete. This is the starting option and this is the ending of the option. In between we have certain text. That text will be visible on the here. Okay. Hope everyone clear. Okay. So this is the HTML structure. So I want to handling is nothing but I want to select one of these options when I'm automating. Okay. So how to select these options? What are the different possible ways that we can select an option? There are different ways that we can select an option. We will see what are the options that we have. So when we talk about dropdowns, this is the syntax HTML code for dropdown where it starts with a select tag and you can have anything, name, ID, whatever you want. And this is ending of the select tag. In between, we have different options will be available. Each option will be one value inside the dropdown, the complete statement, where the visible text will be the text which is present in between the option. Okay. So now how to handle these elements? How to select an element? Just a second, guys. I'm getting a call. Yes, sorry guys. Yeah. So now how to select an option from the dropdown. So there are different ways that we can select an option from the dropdown. Okay. So what are the different ways? So select by index, select by value, and select by visible text. Okay. So what exactly index will do? What exactly visible value, and what exactly means by visible text? Here, each option, there are multiple options available, right? So if you consider about index, so the starting index value will be 0 for options to select. But if we select, we can select any option by using the index. Okay, so the first option will be 0, second will be 1, 2, like that, keep on going. So number of options we have, each starting index will be 0, and then keep on going. Based on the index, we can select any value from the dropdown. That is one way we can select. The other way is based on the visible text. So what is the visible text that we can see it for options? So if you consider this, automation tester is a visible text, right? So based on the visible text, that we can see it on the dropdown. Based on the visible text, also we can select the dropdown. This is another way. And the third way that we can select and dropdown value is based on value. So for every option, if you see, there is a value attribute is present. Just see it on the board. Yes.
Sir, can you explain?
So yeah. Pardon?
Second one. Based on
Automation test based on the visible text. So yeah, in between the tag, option tag, in between the tag, we have certain text, right? These are nothing but that we can see it on the drop down. Okay. So based on this text, this is called as visible text, where we can see it on the drop down. Using this visible text also, we can select a drop down value. Okay. So coding part we will see, but these are the different ways that we can select. And the third way is based on the value. For every option element, for every value, there is a value attribute will be present. Based on the value, also we can select which is associated with this particular option. For every option, we'll have a certain value. So based on the value, also we can select. A value could be anything. In between the double quotes, they have written. Okay, it could be numbers, it could be any random data. Okay, anything they can keep. Not only numbers. In between the double quotes, they'll keep some value. Whether it could be a string value or else any integer value, anything they can keep. So based on the value, also we can select. There are 3 options available: based on index, based on visible text, and the value associated with this particular option, this particular element. Based on the value attribute, also we can select the drop down value. Okay, so we'll see the code. What exactly we need to write the code, and we'll try to identify the element, and we try to select some options inside the drop down. Okay, let us move to the coding part. Okay, under the source tab, I'm going to create a package. Okay, I'm going to name it as Dropdowns. Okay, under the package, I'm going to create a class. Dropdown example 1. Okay, public static void main I need. Okay, this is the class that I created. Okay. Now, first I need to launch the website, correct? So for that purpose, I'm going to reuse the existing line of code. Okay. So after this, what I'm going to do is driver.get. Driver.get, it will launch the URL. So what is the URL? This is the URL. Okay. So once I open the URL, so what I can do is I need to identify this username and password so that I can log in. Identifying the username. So this is the ID input field. Okay, text box. So using this, I'm going to identify this. So driver dot find element by dot ID dot send case admin. Okay. Next driver dot find element by dot ID. So this is the password I'm going to identify and send in the case admin 123. This is the password. Okay. I'm going to inspect this password also. So this is a ID for the password field. Next, I'm going to identify the button also. ID will be BTN login. Okay. So driver dot find element by dot ID. Click. Okay. So now I'm logging into the corresponding website. So once I log in, what I need to do? Once I log in, what exactly I need to do? I need to click on this recruitment tab. Correct? So if I want to click on this recruitment tab, I need to inspect the element. So this is ID to click on the recruitment tab. I'll copy the ID. Driver dot find element by dot ID. Click. Okay. I clicked on the recruitment tab also. Now I have this drop down element where I want to identify this drop down element. So first let us try to identify this drop down element. So first we need to identify this select tag. Okay. So inside we have multiple options, that is well and good. First we need to identify this select tag. Okay. Inside the select only we have multiple options. So to identify this select tag, again we have an ID here where we can use ID or name, whatever you want, or else you can write export also. But ultimately we need to identify this select tag. So let us take ID only because they have given ID directly. So driver dot find element by dot ID. So we cannot click on this. Okay, we cannot click on this actually. So if we feel like we have to click on this like this, no, we cannot click. We just need to identify this and we have to store it in some web element. Name it as Dropdown element, something like this. Web element I'm going to import from org.openqa.selenium. Okay, so this is how I need to identify the Dropdown element with the select tag, and I'm storing it in Dropdown element. Okay, I'm naming it as Dropdown ELE element. So now what I need to do is to handle dropdowns. So you need to create an object of select class. There is a select class which is provided by Selenium where we need to create an object of select class. So normally for classes, the starting letter will be capital or small? Capital letter. Now the Selenium is giving a class called select where we need to create an object of select class. So how to create an object of select class? Class name is select. So how to create an object? Tell me that. Select object name. Let's say I'm naming this dropdown. I'll name it as dropdown. Above one is dropdown ELE. This is a dropdown. I'm giving some name and then you select. So this is the how we need to create an object of select class. Select is something which is provided by Selenium that we need to import. Okay, hover your mouse on the select where you need to import select from org.openqa.selenium.support.ui. Okay, this you cannot see, but yeah. So select you can import from the org.openqa.selenium.support.ui. Click on this, you will get imported. And now inside the select class, okay, inside the select we need to provide the identified dropdown element. So this is the dropdown element that we have identified with the select tag, right? So this is the dropdown element select that we have identified using ID. So this element we need to pass it inside the select. Then the error will go off. Okay. Clear? So now, once we have created object of this, using this particular reference variable, using this drop down, okay, we can select the value of the drop down. So how many ways we can select? Using index, using visible text, or using value. There are 3 ways that we can select a drop down. So using this drop down reference, right? So now what we can do is drop down dot, we can right select and then control space. The 3 options are available. Select by index. Okay, just I'm noting it down. Okay, and then select by visible text will have. Then you have 3 types of selections will be available. Select by value. So these are the different ways that you can select a drop-down element. So you have use this particular reference variable and call any of these methods. Select by index, select by visible text, select by value. So based on these 3 options, we can select the drop-down value. First, we'll try to use index and we try to select some option, and then we use visible text and then we use value. Okay, so first let us use index. Okay, now if I want to select, okay, so all is the first element. So if you see, the first option is nothing but all, second one is AAA, third one is automation tester, fourth one is automation tester. Now I want to identify chief executive officer. I want to select this chief executive officer from the drop down. So what is the index? What is the index? Just need to count from top. So first one is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the index value? Please respond for chief executive officer. 5, because index
5.
starts from 0. 5, correct. So the first option is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so you need to pass select by index and you need to pass 5 here. Okay, you need to pass 5 here before selecting. So what we will do, we'll wait for some time so that we can clearly see whether we are able to select or not. So here I'm going to give some time. So I'm giving some 10 seconds of time. Okay. And then I'm selecting the value. This is the element of select tag where we're identifying this particular select element. And we created a select object where inside we passed the corresponding select element. So using this particular reference variable dropdown, we can select the value by index. Okay, now let us see whether we're able to select the chief executive officer, the corresponding value. Let me run this. Okay, let's wait for 10 seconds. So once we wait for 10 seconds, let us wait. Let us see whether it is selects or not. Okay. It selected
Yes,
the corresponding option based on the index. This is one way that we can select. This is one of the option. Okay, the other one is that we see is based on the visible text. Okay, so based on the visible text, we will see. Now let me comment out this code. Okay, now I'm going to use dropdown dot select by visible text. Okay, double quotes. I need to pass the corresponding visible text where we can select the value based on the visible text. Now, if I want to select, okay, if I want to select content specialist, okay, if I want to select the content specialist, so what is the visible text? Content specialist is the visible text because the text which is present in between the tags, that is nothing but the visible text that we can see it on the drop down. So based on this content specialist text, copy the text, and based on this text also we can select the drop down value. Just select, use this particular select by visible text method. Inside the double quotes, you just pass the text. Okay, now the corresponding content specialist will be selected. Now let me run this. Click on the recruitment, wait for 10 seconds and see what it will select. Okay. So based on the visible text also, we can select the drop-down value. This is second way. And what is the third way? Select by value. So what is meant by value? Value is nothing but the attribute for each and every option tag. So based on the value which is associated with the option tag, so based on the value we can select. Now, if I take customer success manager, so what is the value? 17. So I can pass the 17 and I can select the corresponding option from the drop down. So what the next thing, I'll comment the same code. The code I'll comment. And now the next one is I'll use dropdown dot select by value. Inside the double quotes, put the double quotes here also. Only for index, we don't need to put double quotes. But other two things, we need to put double quotes. Okay, select by value. So value is nothing but the attribute. So now if I want to select customer success manager from the drop down, I need to pass 17. I need to take the value and then I need to pass it here. So based on the value also, I can select. Now let me run this and see. Okay. So based on the value, we selected the option. So any can use any of these options. So mostly we prefer to use visible text. Okay. But you can choose any of these options to select. Ultimately, what our goal is, our goal is to select some option. So that's what we need to do. So you can use any of these methods and you can choose to select any of these options. Okay. This is about the selection part. So this is how we need to handle the dropdown. Handling the dropdown is nothing but selecting the value from the dropdown using the select class. This is one of the important question normally. So how to handle dropdowns. So what are the different ways that we can select a dropdown value? They will ask. So we have to create a select class. Inside the select class, we need to pass the corresponding web element which we identified. And then we have different methods to select a value, which is nothing but select by value, select by visible text, select by index. Using any of these methods, we can select an option from the dropdown. This is about selection. What about deselection? I want to deselect the selected value. Okay. So there are methods are available. Deselect by index, deselect by visible text, and deselect by value. We will see whether those will work for deselection or not. So if we get any issue, then why you're getting an issue, what exactly we need to follow, we will see. Okay, now let us try to deselect the value. So now by using 17, select by value, I have selected the corresponding. So let me second. I'll comment this and I'll use a visible text. So this is how I'm selecting the value. Now, once I select the value like this, okay, content specialist. If I deselect, what will happen? Normally, you're getting guess what will happen if I deselect the value? It will goes to all. You mean to say the first option. Okay, we will see what will happen. If you get any issue, why exactly we are getting the issue, that we will see. Okay. So now I have to use dropdown dot deselect using visible text only. Select by visible text, we selected the value that we know, and I'm trying to deselect the value. Once I select the value, deselect the corresponding option. With this option, whatever it is there selected, deselect it. Okay, so let us try to see what exactly happens. Let me run this. Content specialist selected. Specialist is selected. That is fine. Deselection, it didn't work. Okay. Let me open this. The execution also stopped. Okay. So what exactly happened? When I try to deselect. So where we got an issue, we got an error, exception. By looking at the code here, we got exception that we clearly know. So where we got the exception? In this class, in this particular file, dropdown underscore example1.java file. So this is a Java file that we are writing some code. At the 36th line, we got an issue. So what is the 36th line? So this is the 36th line. Here we got an exception. What exception we got? We got unsupported operation exception. The operation, whatever we're trying to perform, the deselection is not supported. So why it is not supported? We need to read out the message. You may only deselect options of a multi-select. So what is a multi-select? So there are two types of dropdowns are available. So one is a single select dropdown and one is a multi-select dropdown. Okay, whatever we discussed as of now, that is a single select dropdown where we can select only single value. We cannot deselect the value for a single select dropdown where deselection works for only the multi-select dropdown only. Multi-select dropdown is something where we can select more than one value. Okay, so the deselection works for only multi-select dropdown. There are two types of dropdowns: single select and multi-select. Multi-select dropdown. So the deselection works for only multi-select dropdown. Okay, we can select any option from the multi-select and deselection only works for multi-select. Okay, we will see multi-select dropdown, how exactly it looks like and how to handle multi-select dropdown. We will see. Selection is same. We can select in any option in the multi-select dropdown also. Selection is same, but deselection works for only multi-select, not for the single select. If we try to use deselect for a single select, you'll get this exception, unsupported operation exception. Okay, and it is clearly saying you may deselect options of a multi-select. They didn't mention dropdown, but yeah, multi-select dropdown. Okay, so let us see what exactly the multi-select dropdown, how exactly it looks like, and we'll perform the same option. So I clearly mentioned here. So this I have already discussed. Select by index, select by value, and select by visible text. And here deselections works for multi-select dropdowns only. Okay, so let me open another website where we can see the multi-select dropdowns. Here we cannot see multi-select dropdowns. This website doesn't support. What I will do, I'll open sample website where we can see the multi-select dropdown. Okay, if you see, this is a single select dropdown. We already discussed. This is one more example. Okay, so this is a multi-select dropdown. Here, the multi-select values. This is a multi-select dropdown where we can select more than one options by clicking on control button. So select one option and click on control from the keyboard and try to click on other things. Okay, we can select any option or deselect. Selection, deselection. Click it, it will select, or again click on the same option, it will deselect. This is how we have to do manually, but automation also we can do. Selecting the any values, more than one value, and deselecting the same values. So we will see. So let the coding part of that, mostly it looks same. Okay, so mostly it looks same only. So we have a select class. Inside the select, we have multiple options available. First one is performance testing. Next one is manual testing. Third option is agile methodology. Fourth option is Selenium. Okay, so same thing will be there. The only difference will be available is here we can see under the select tag, there is a multiple option available. I think that is the one which is differentiate between the single select dropdown and multi-select dropdown. Okay, but the look wise, it will be same. Select tag will be there. Inside the select, we have multiple options where each option will be represented a corresponding value in the dropdown. Okay. Now, the same thing we'll do. First, we identify the element and we create a select object. And then we use any of the method to select and deselect. Now, let us create one more class. Okay. Inside the dropdowns package only, I'm going to create another class. MultiSelect Okay. So now here I'm going to reuse the same code what we did earlier. Okay. To open the website, I'm using this. Okay. So now once I open the website, this particular website. Okay. So now I need to identify this particular dropdown. So to identify this select, so there are name is available and class is also available. I'm going to use name or class, anything is fine. Let us see how, if there is another element with the same class dot, and then there are 8 classes are available with the same class. I wrote a CSS selector here. I cannot use this class. Okay. Now let me try to use name. So this is the name that we have. Select @name is equal to, in a single quotes, I'll pass the name. Okay. So name is unique. I can use the name. That is fine. So now I'll copy the name. So driver dot find element by dot name. Okay. In the double quotes, I'll give the name. So this I'm going to store it in web element. So same drop down element. Web element I need to import from org.openqa.selenium. Now, so once I do this, the next step what I need to do, I need to create a select object. So select drop down, some name I'm giving is equal to new select. So select is from the org.openqa.selenium. Okay, where we need to pass the corresponding web element here and the semicolon. So now using this drop down, this reference variable, I can use select by value, select by index, any of the select option to select options, any value. Now I'm going to use drop down, select by. So I'm going to select by value. Okay, I'm going to select manual testing first. So using the value, I'm going to select. So this value I need to copy. Select by value. MS manual is the value. Okay, you can have any value inside the double quotes. So using this value, I'm going to select the manual testing option. This is one option that I selected. If you want to select one more option, again I have to use one more statement. Dropdown dot select by. Now I'm going to use visible text. I'm going to select Selenium. I'm copying the visible text and I'm using the select. So with the single select dropdown, if you select 2 items at the single point of time, the previous value will be deselected and the new option will be selected, because we can select only one option. But here in multi-select dropdown, we can select 2 options, because this is a multi-select dropdown where we can select more than one option. So manual testing, I'm selecting by value, and Selenium I'm selecting by visible text. Now let us see all these, both these options will get selected or not first. So let me run this. Okay, both are selected, manual testing and then Selenium also. Okay. So now I want to deselect manual testing. So 2 options are selected, manual testing and Selenium. Now I want to deselect the manual testing. Okay, any of the, again we have 3 types of deselections: deselect by index, deselect by visible text, deselect by value. So now I want to deselect by index. Okay, different operations I'm trying it out. Okay, so now once I select these 2 options, I'm trying to deselect by index. So what is the manual testing index? Huh? 1. Okay. Its index is 1. After selecting 2 options, let us wait for some time so that we can clearly see. Let's wait for 5 seconds. Okay. So we'll wait here also. First selecting the manual testing, let's wait for 5 seconds. And we select the other option. Okay. Okay. And then we select again for 5, we wait for 5 seconds and we deselect the manual testing by visible text, by index. So the index of manual testing is 1. If we see the code also, so 0 is the performance testing, 1 is the manual testing. So 1 by 1 from the top to bottom. So now let us run this. Manual testing is selected, waiting for 5 seconds. Selenium is selected, waiting for 5 seconds. Deselecting the manual testing by index. Okay, interesting. Maja vastunda? Okay, fine. So this is how we can select more than one options and we then deselect the option by the deselect options. You can use index, visible text, whatever you want. Now there is one more option where we can deselect all the values at a single point of time. Okay, there is one more way that we can deselect all the options at a single point of time. If you want to deselect. Okay, so what exactly you can do is, so instead of calling like this, once I select the 2 options, I want to deselect all the options at a single point of time at once. Now I have to call a method called Deselect All. Okay. Apart from these things, index, value, and visible text, there is one more way that we can deselect all the options by calling the Deselect All method, where it deselects all the values from the dropdown, selected values. Whatever the selected values that we have, it will try to deselect all the values at once. Okay. Now we are selecting manual testing and Selenium and deselecting those 2 at once. Let me run this. Okay, manual testing selected. Selenium is selected. Deselection, right? So this is how we can deselect all the values at a single point of time. Deselection works for only MultiSelect Dropdown. That's it. So the next one. So now I want to know how many dropdown elements are present. It could be 10, it could be 20 options, it could be 30 options. How many options are present inside my dropdown? How many values are present inside my dropdown elements? I just want to know. I want to know the size. How many dropdown elements are present based on my requirement. Let's say there is a requirement where the country name should display. So let's say 20 country names are given as a list based on the requirement. Those countries should display. The count should be 20. So I just want to know the count, how many are displayed. So in that case, what exactly you can do to know the count of different kind of options. So now to know that, okay, there is a method called from the dropdown itself, get options. It will give all the option web elements. So if we consider these dropdown elements, okay, let us take the same example, or previous example is fine. Any example is fine. So now, how many values are present inside the dropdown? Let's take a single select dropdown as previously as we discussed. I'm navigating to Orange HRM. Okay. I'm going to recruitment tab. I'm going to inspect this job title again. Okay. So how many values are present inside this dropdown? I'm not sure. but the requirement is like, let's say there are 20 options should display or 25 should display. So how to get all these option elements? So each one is a web element again, right? Inside this particular web element select time, we have multiple web elements are available. So each option will be a one web element, correct or not? Web element starts with a tag and ends with a tag, correct or not? Correct. So if I know how many options are present inside this, right? How many elements are present inside this select? So then I know the correct size, because each option represents a corresponding one option from the dropdown. If I know how many option elements are present, how many web elements are present inside select, then I can clearly know how many values are present inside the dropdown. The size I can know. So how exactly I can do is, now going to the previous example again. I don't want to select or deselect anything. Just okay. I'll comment out everything. So till here it is same. So identifying the select option, select a particular element, web element, select a web element, and then creating the drop down and then passing the select inside the select object. Till here it is same. Now we have one more method called dropdown dot get options. Get options. This method will give us pardon.
So you have to change the URL, sir. You have changed the website.
Yeah, again I changed the website. The previous subset, first example. I'm going to first example only. Okay. Previous example. Okay. There are two classes that are created, right? This is the first example, first website, and the second website I'm going to tell you second class. So I didn't change any URL here because I came to the first Java class. So
Okay,
there is an option called get options are available, right? So this get options will give us all the option web elements. Okay, from the select dropdown. Okay, so this particular will give what is the return type? Any guess? What get options will do? It will give a list of web elements. Okay, option is a web element, right? That's a web element. It will give a list of web elements. Get options. Similarly, find elements is giving a list of web elements, right? Similarly, get options will also give a list of web elements. So now I have to create a list. So this is a list of type web elements. Okay. I'm naming as all options. I'm naming it as all options. So the list we need to import from java.util. So not Selenium related. This is Java related. So you have to import list from java.util package. Just import this. That's it. So dropdown.get options will give this complete statement will give a list of option elements. That is nothing but list of web elements. Now, how to know how many elements are present, how many option tags, how many option web elements are present, how to know? Dot size. Okay, so this you have to use this all options. Dot will give us how many options are present inside the dropdown. Okay, now let me run this. We'll see what it will print. Okay, we have executed. Hopefully execution is done. Okay, now it is done. So how many values are present? 34. Total 34 options are present inside the dropdown. Okay. If you want, you can count it. That is fine. Okay, let us count it. So to make sure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Network 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Okay. Total 34 elements are present. The same count we got it. Okay. So get options will give all the web elements. Okay. So if you want to print it, if you want to print the text, what are the different values are present? Okay. What is the text? What are the values that are present, not the count? So what exactly you need to do in that case? Huh? We need for loop. We can create a for loop. Okay. Where I can create a for loop and iterate all these web elements. So you have to put colon, right side we need to pass this all options, this list, and the left side, what kind of data type that is returning? Huh? This is a list of type web element. So the right side we need to pass all the web elements. So left side we need to pass the web element because it's a list of type web element, because each and every time one option will be sitting and storing it in a web element because it's like list of web elements. And I have to name it as some name element, something like this. Right side we need to pass all the options, all the web elements, all the list we need to pass, and the left side we need to pass the corresponding data, which data it is returning, web element. So each and every time one web element is coming and sitting here. Okay, if I want to know the value, drop down text, what exactly it is present, different kind of text values it is present. So how to know the text? How to know I want to print out all the values using the for loop. If I want to get each and every text, each and every option, all the option web elements I got. Now, if I want to print the text from each and every web element, so what exactly I need to use? Which web element command I need to use?
Select all.
Get text. Web element command, there is a method called get text. What get text will do? Get text. What it will do? It will print the visible text. It will give the visible text of that particular element. For every option tag, there is a visible text which is present in between the tag. So now here get options is giving all the web elements, which are nothing but all the option tags. So all the option tags I'm trying to iterate one by one. So from each and every element, each and every option tag, I can get the text using the get text method. Correct or wrong? It should be very quickly answerable. Okay. You know the web element commands, get text command. Okay. Now I'm trying to use system.out.println statement. So from each option element, okay, I'm going to print the get text method. Using this get text, I can print the visible text from each and every web element. Okay. So what is the visible text? AAA is a visible text. Automation tester is a visible text. If you print all this text, which is nothing but we are printing the values inside the dropdown only. Okay. So one by one, from all the option elements, we are trying to iterate and printing all the values. Let me run this and see. Okay. So out of 34, we got the complete text, all the values. Okay. So this is about the handling the drop-down elements. We can sort out. So how we can sort out is, so you can use, there are different kind of collections frameworks available. The sort options are available that I didn't tell in detail, but we can sort it out. So you can sort it out using, you can put it in set. So a hash, not hash set, the sortation tree set. You can keep it in tree set, something like that. But you don't allow the duplicates. But if you want to sort it out, you can sort it, but that's a different concept again. We need to write some program to sort it out. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So this is how we need to get the drop-down values. This we can handle. Okay. Clear? Any questions as of now?
No, sir.
Clear, right? So drop-downs, everything. Okay, fine. Now, similarly, there is one more method called get selected options. Okay, that you can use it for multi-select dropdown. Get selected options. Instead of get options, you can select. You can get only the selected options. That you can try it out. Okay. Once you select in the multi-select dropdown, once you select more than one value, use get selected options, and we try to print out those values. Those selected options, you will get it. Okay. We'll have an option called get selected option, get selected values. So dropdown dot get all selected options. This one, get all selected options you will get. You will have, or else get first selected option. Out of all the selected options, what is the first selected option? So this will give us a web element, and all selected options will give us again list of web elements. Okay. If you want, you can try it out. You can play with it. Okay. So yeah. So that's about dropdowns. So mostly you have to concentrate on selecting the options and deselecting the options for a multi-select dropdown. And if you're able to get all the text, visible text, you have to iterate using for loop. Okay. So that's about the dropdowns. The next concept that we're going to discuss is web tables. Okay. So what are web tables? First, we will see what are web tables, and then we'll see the HTML structure, HTML code, how exactly it looks like, and how to handle these web tables. Okay. So now let me open. So let's see. Let me open some website where we can see some web tables. Okay. So this is how a web table looks like. Table is something where we have certain data inside the table elements. Okay, we have rows will be there. We have columns. We have column names will be there. We have last name, first name, email, view, website action. We have different columns are available and different rows available. The complete first row, second row, third row. How many rows are available? Total 4 rows are available. And how many columns are available? Total 6 columns. And we have a header, heading part also, last name, first name, email. So this is called as web table. Inside any website, if you find these kind of tables, those are called as web tables. Okay. So now what is the HTML structure that we have for these web tables? So let me inspect. And we see the HTML structure for this tables. So normally these web tables starts with having a tag called table. Okay. Normally we'll be having a tag called table. Once I put my mouse on the table, this particular web element, the complete table is getting highlighted. Okay. So table element starts with a tag called table, where ends with table / table. Inside, if you expand inside the table, we'll have all this data inside the table element. Okay. Now let me expand this table element. So now again we have 2 tags inside the table. So mostly you'll find 2 tags, or else we'll have 1 tag. That is fine. Okay. So but we'll be having mostly 2 tags will be available. One tag is nothing but T head, and the other one is nothing but T body. T head represents the header part, and T body represents the remaining body part. Okay. T head represents the heading part, the last name, first name, email, all these things will represent by the heading part, T head tag. And then T body represents the complete body of the web table. Now, again, if we can expand this T head, we'll be having all this data inside the T head. And if we expand T body, all this data will be present inside the T body. First, let us try to expand T head. Okay. Once I expand T head, so we'll be having the row will be there, right? So each data in a table will be represented by a row first, and then the corresponding cell elements, each cell, each data. So we have a first row element is there. Each row, this row contains last name, first name, email, and view inside the T head, right? And then the cells, when we consider cells, data, last name is one data, first name is one data, email is one data, individual data. Considering all this data, that is a row. Okay. So now if you see under the T head, we have a tag called again TR. TR represents the row. The complete row is getting highlighted if you see it here. Okay. So once we expand row, TR tag, there are multiple TH tags are available. Each TH is represented by one cell inside the heading. So first TH is nothing but last name. Second one is the first name. Third TH is email. And fourth TH is due. Similarly, there are 6 columns are available. All the columns represent this TH tag. Okay. Inside the row, normally we're having different cells. Each cell, each heading represented by TH here. TH is nothing but table header. TR is nothing but table row. Okay. Table header. Inside the table header, we'll be having row, table row, TR. Inside the table row, we'll be having different TH tags, which is nothing but table header, TH. Okay. Clear as of now, this is inside the T head. We are talking about heading part. Now we are talking about the body part, T body, table body. Inside the table body, we have different row data. Again, each row will be represented by TR tag. TR, table row, TR tag. Once we expand T body, each row will be represented by TR tag. This is the first row, second row, third row. It is getting highlighted here. See here. First row, second row, third row, and then fourth row. Total 4 rows are available. Okay. So once we expand TR, again we'll be having each cell will be represented by corresponding tag. So what is the tag? Not TH. Now it will be TD because it's a table body. So now this is the first TD element contains the Smith visible text. Again, John. When we talk about first row, I've expanded the first row, not the second row. First row, if I expand, in the first row, again, we have different data. Each represents a cell data. TD1, TD2, TD3, TD4, TD5. Total 5 values. And the last one represents the last cell. Total 6 columns available. First TD, second TD, third one, fourth one, fifth one. Each TD represents the corresponding cell data. So this is a HTML structure. So normally table represented by table tag. Inside the table, we have a T head and T body. Sometimes you find only T body. That is also fine. Table header won't be there. In the T body only, they will give the header part. That is also fine. So, but here they given header part and then body part also. T head and T body. Again, T head contains the different rows with TR tag. Inside the TR tag, we'll have a TH. Each cell represented with TH. Now, when we come to T body contains again number of rows like this. TR1, TR2, TR3. Number of rows will be available. Inside the row contains again each cell represented with TD tag. This is a HTML structure for a table element. Okay, the same thing I have noted down here. Okay, WebTable HTML code. We have a table. Inside we have a T head and T body, 2 child elements, T head and T body. T head contains again child called TR. TR contains again child called TH. When it comes to T body, again T body contains a child called TR. Again TR contains a child called TD. Each TD represents a corresponding cell data from each row. Okay, so this is the first row where we have 2 columns. This is the second row where we have 2 columns. Data. So each tag will be starting and ending will be there for every tag. Okay. This is the T head. This is a T body. So T head and T body both are available under table. Clear about the HTML structure? Any questions?
Yes.
Clear. So now how to handle? So how to my scenario is I want to get the text from the all the elements. Okay. I want to get the text complete table data. I want to get it. So how to get the complete table data? What are the different steps that we need to follow to get the complete table data? So how to handle? So now there are different steps involved. So these are the different steps that are involved to handle the table data. Okay. So here we need to use 2 for loops, one for the rows and one for the columns. Each row contains different data, correct or wrong? Right? So now my scenario is I want to get the complete table data. So first I need to iterate each and every row. First for loop I need to write. So for each row, I need to get the complete table data. Again, I need to write one more for loop to iterate each and every cell data. Okay, 4 rows are available. All the 4 rows I need to iterate one by one. Each row contains 6 cell data. Again, I need to iterate each cell data. Like columns, I need to iterate. 2 for loops I need to write here. Okay, so we need row count to iterate all the rows, and we need a column count to iterate each cell of a row. Okay, 2 rows, 2 for loops we need to write, and then write 2 for loops. Once we get the count of row and columns, write 2 for loops, 1 for rows and 1 for columns. Okay, now write an XPath which fetches the each row and corresponding cell data. Write an XPath in such a way that where it fetches the complete each and every cell data. So these are the steps that are involved. Identify the row count, identify the column count, write 2 for loops, and write an XPath which fetches the each and every cell data. That's it. Simple. We'll see one by one how exactly we can do. Now let me create class called package called WebTables. Sorry. Okay. Inside this, I'm going to create a class called WebTable example. Now I'm going to use the previous code only to open the web page. Exactly happened. Okay. So now I'm changing the URL. So what is the URL? I'm using this URL. Okay. So we need to follow the steps that we discussed. First, I should know the row count and column count. Then I can write 2 for loops. So how to know the row count? So to know the row count, we need to write an XPath. Okay. We need to use find elements. Okay, because we are trying to identify more than one row. How many rows are present? More than one row elements that we're trying to identify. Each row TR is a one web element, right? So we have multiple TRs, TR1, TR2, TR3, TR4. All the TRs that we need to identify. So if you want to know more than one web element, we have to use the find elements, not find element. Okay, so now we have to write an XPath where it gives the all the rows that I have to store it in a list of web elements. That particular size is nothing but the rows, row count. Okay, so now let us try to get all the rows elements to write an XPath in such a way that. So now I want to get the complete data, table data, not the headers. I'm talking about only table data. So now I need to write an XPath. So first I need to identify this table. From this, I need to identify the row count. So I need to identify this /. Please repeat with me. So what I need to write table. Inside this, I'm going to identify using ID. At the rate ID is equal to table1. This is identifying. This is nothing but the table we have got identified. So inside the table, where the data will be available, the complete data under T body, not the heading. I want the body under T body. So if you want to navigate to the child element, / and then T body. Okay. So inside the T body, if I want to know the first task is nothing but I want to know the row count. How many TRs are available? Row is nothing but TR, correct? Inside the T body, there are multiple TRs are available. Each TR represent, this is a web element. TR is a web element. There are 4 web elements are available. Each TR represent a corresponding row. Now, if I want to know all the row count, again, what I need to do under the T body / and then TR. So now if you see the count, how many rows are we got? If you see the count here, total 4. Now I need to use a find elements method, not find element. I need to provide this XPath and use find elements method so that I will get all the web elements so that I can store it in a list of web elements. Okay, so let me use this XPath to know the row count. So driver dot find elements, not element. So by dot XPath. So this I can store it in a of web element. I'll name it as rows. Where web element I need to import from Selenium, org.openqi.selenium, and list I need to import from java.util package. Okay, so this is nothing but identification of rows. Okay, so if you want to know the row count, what I need to do? Rows dot size will give us the number of row count. Similarly, I want to know the column count. Okay, I want to know the cell count or column count. How many columns are present? How many cells are present from inside each row? So we can do that. So now what I can do is, so based on the headers that we have in each row, the corresponding data will be having, correct or not? So if you have 6 headers, in each row we'll be having 6 cells of data. If I identify the how many headers are available, okay, then I can know the cell count, how many cells are present, how many columns are present, correct or wrong? Okay, the second option that we need to do is need column count to iterate each cell of a row. If you want to know the column count, you can take the first row and you can get the column count, each cell data, or else you can take the header part also. Anything is fine. And each how many cells are present, how many columns are present, that count we need. So we need to write an XPath in such a way that so that it fetches the all the data, column cells data. Okay. Now I'm trying to identify the headers, how many headers are present, how many columns are present. So what is the XPath that we need to write here? In the table, what I need to identify? If you want to know the headers, how many headers are present? T head. Inside the T head, we have a TR, right? Only one row, heading, only one row is there. Inside the TR, I want to know how many cells are present so that every row contains those cells only. Okay. So inside the TR, I need to write TH. How many THs are available? 6. So TH1, TH2, TH3. The XPath fetches all the TH. I'm not using any index. I'm not identifying only single cell. All the cells I'm identifying. So total 6 columns are available. If you consider every row, 6 columns will be available. So that is the reason I took from the headers, not from the body. You can take from the body also. That is also fine. Okay. From the first row, you can take how many data is present, how many cells are present. Now this gives us the corresponding column count. Again, we need to use this. I need to change this columns, and the XPath we need to change this XPath where it gives the complete column count. How many columns are present? Now first let us run this and see how many rows are present, how many columns are present inside each row. Execution is done. Total 4 rows are available. Okay. Total 4 rows are available inside the table. First row. Sorry. This is table 2. We have to talk about table 1. Okay. Total 4 rows available. That count we got 4 rows and 6 columns. Okay. Total 6 columns are available from last name to action. Okay. So once we get this count, what is the third action that we need to do? We need to write two for loops. We need to write two for loops where it returns the first row. I mean, first row for loop is for rows and second for loop is for columns. First, let me write this for loop. So where my index starts from, web element index starts from. I'm not talking about dropdowns. Normal web element index starts from 1. Okay, if it is, there are 4 rows are available. So this is a TR1, TR2, TR3, TR4. Index doesn't start from 0. Only when we are talking about dropdowns, there it starts from 0. When we're talking about Java, where the index starts from 0 in arrays. But here, when we talk about web elements, web element index starts from 1. That you need to remember. So now if I want to iterate all the for loops, what is my starting value? Initialization int I is equal to 1. I need to start from 1, not 0. So now I need to iterate till iterate the number of rows. Total 4 rows are available. From 1 to 4, I need to iterate 1 by 1. So that from each row, we can get the corresponding cell data. So now less than or equal to, I need to mention rows dot size. So what is the row size? 4. That we know already. 4 rows are available. So from 1 to 4, 4 rows we are iterating. This is the for loop for rows, outer for loop. And then each and every time I need to increase the row count, I++. And inside the for loop, I need to write one more for loop, 2 for loops I need to write, right? The first one is for rows and the second one is for columns. Instead of putting I can put row here. Each row. Where row starts from 1, row is less than the row size. Okay. And then corresponding row plus plus. Each time I'm incrementing the row. Now this one is for columns. Int column is also starts with 1. If we consider one row tr, again we have multiple tds. Nothing but the cell data, right? Each cell, or else we can put cell. Inside row we have a different cells available. Let's consider first row tr1. Inside tr1 we have multiple data which represents with td, td1, td2, td3, td4, td5, and td6. Correct? So now cell starts from 1 and then cell less than or equal to column count, columns dot size. So column size is 6. We already know. So from 1 to 6 we are iterating. From the each row we are iterating from 1 to 6, which is nothing but each cell data I'm iterating, and then cell plus plus. So one for loop for rows and one for loop for cells. That's what we did. The third one. Write 2 for loops, 1 for rows and 1 for columns or cells. Cells are nothing but the columns. Okay. So now we have to write an XPath to fetch each row and corresponding cell data. Okay. Write an XPath in such a way that it fetches the each cell data from the row. So now we'll write an XPath. Let us try to use the same XPath that we used here. So now I'll write an XPath here like this. So this is TR. Okay, 4 TRs is identifying. If you want to identify the first row, first TR, out I need to write, I need to put 1 here, TR1. Second TR, TR2, TR3, TR4. Only one element is getting identified here based on the row index. Okay, let us try to identify the first row. Inside the first row, I have multiple TD elements are available. TD. Okay, inside the TR1, under the T body, we have first row TR1, and inside we identify TD. How many elements are getting identified? 6. If I want to identify the first TD, what I need to write? Inside the first row, first cell. Okay, now I want to identify second cell, TD2, third cell, TD3, TD4, TD5, TD6. Okay, so this is the XPath where we can identify each cell from each row. Okay, when we change the TD count, it represents the corresponding cell. Okay, if I want to navigate to the second row, what I need to do in this XPath? TR2, correct? TR2, in the TR2 again, TD1, TD2, TD3, TD4. If you want to go to third row, again change this column. Every time what I'm changing, we are changing this row count and this column count. So that is the reason we have in two for loops. One for is to iterate the row, one for is to iterate the count of cell. Okay. We need to use this XPath where we change every time this row number and column number. That's it. Okay, dynamically. We will not hard code, we will not put a proper value here. Every time we will try to change this value so that we'll fetch the complete data of the table. We are going to iterate 1, 2, 3, and 4 till 4. And from the each row, we are going to iterate all the cells. Okay, now let us use this. So driver dot. So this will give us only one web element. Okay, not the multiple web elements. From one row, and I'm going to take the one corresponding data. Okay, only one of one. I can use driver dot find element only. By dot XPath. So this is the XPath that we need to write where I want to store it in web element. I'm writing as each cell. Okay, each cell. So this I cannot hard code. Every time if I do this now, every time I'll get from third row, fourth data only. So this I need to change. So what I need to change, instead of this row count, I need to pass this row. Every time I need to change this row. Instead of this cell data, I need to change this particular cell value. I have to pass these values. I cannot put like this. But if I put like this, every time it will take the data. It will try to identify the third row, fourth element only. Okay, we should not do this. We need to write dynamically these values I need to change. So instead of 3, okay, what I need to do is put double quotes. In between the double quotes, you need to plus symbol, 2 plus symbols. Here we need to pass the row count. Okay, again remove 4 here. Put double quotes. Inside the double quotes, put 2 plus symbols. Here we need to pass the cell number. Okay, so how it will form is right. So in between the double quotes, whatever we have written, that will be a string value, correct or wrong? Okay, in between the double quotes, whatever you have, that is a string value. So till here, so just a second, till here, that is a string. So how it is forming is let us copy this. Okay. So this is how till here. And then if you compare any integer to a string, that will become a string. So now after the double quotes, we are adding the row number. Let's say first we are adding the row 1. Okay. And then again, the double quote starts. So in between the double quotes, whatever that is there, that is a string value. Take that and copy it here. Okay. And again, this cell count that I'm taking. So cell, let's take 1, right? This cell is nothing but 1. Again, inside the double quotes, we have this brackets open and close. That copy here. So this is how I'm forming the XPath. Every time I'm changing this TR value and TD value. Okay, because this is dynamic. From the loop, it is I'm taking from the for loop. Now we'll talk about the iteration. Okay. So I'll complete the code first and I'll talk about the iteration. So once I identify this corresponding data, let's say I'm identifying this. I want to know the data from the cell. If you want to get the visible text, what I need to use from the element, this particular element. If I want to get the Smith or John or whatever the data it is there, I want to use the get text method. Okay, from the web element. So this, I want to print the get text method. Each cell, from the each cell, I want to get the text out of it. Get text method. Okay, what exactly happening? Here I'm trying to iterate the rows from 1 to 4. For the first iteration, the row count will be 1 because we are starting with 1. 1 is less than or equal to 4 because total row size is 4. True or false? True. Correct. Now we are going inside this particular for loop. If the condition is true here, 1 is less than or equal to 4, then we are going to execute the complete for loop. Okay. Now we are going inside the for loop. We have one more for loop where we are initializing cell with 1 again. Int cell is equal to 1. Now 1 is less than or equal to 6 because column count is 6. 1 is less than or equal to 6. True or false? True. So if it is true, again we are going to execute the for loop. Okay. The behavior of for loop, we have to go ahead and check the Java class how exactly for loop works. So now if the condition is true, we are going to execute the for loop, complete for loop. Now the row is 1 and cell is 1. We are forming the XPath in such a way that the row is 1 and then column is 1. We are trying to get the text out of it. Okay, so we'll get the Smith text. Okay, now once we enter into the for loop, we can come out of the for loop when the condition is false. Till that time, I will be in the for loop only. So now the cell we are going to increase to 2 because cell plus plus. Previous it was 1, now it was 2. Now once it is going to 2, now we again have to check the condition before going inside the for loop. So 2 less than or equal to 6, true or false? True. Again we are going to inside for loop only. So once this for loop will come out of the for loop, then only we come to the outer for loop. Till the condition is false, we'll be inside this for loop only. Once we enter the for loop, we can come out of the for loop once the condition is false. Till there, you will be in the for loop only. Now 2 less than or equal to 6, which is true. Now in the complete XPath, in the complete web element, if I'm trying to identify what is changing, only row is the same, but the cell is changing. Now the cell value is nothing but TD of 2 is changing. Only cell is changing from 1 to 2. Row is same, row of 1. In the first row, you are taking the second cell. Previously, we took the first cell data. Now we are taking the second cell data. Again, cell plus plus 3. Now 3 less than or equal to 6. Again, TD of 3. Again, TD of 4, TD of 5, TD of 6. All this we'll be iterating. So from the first row, we're taking the complete data. Now, when the row is 6, I'm taking the text, I'm printing the text, that is fine. Now 6 plus plus, the cell becomes 7. 7 less than or equal to 6, true or false? Then we will come out of the for loop, this for loop. And then the next for loop, previously row was 1, now we'll iterate, increase the row count to 2. Row plus plus 1 becomes 2. So 2 less than or equal to 4. True, right? So now again we'll go inside the for loop. Again we'll start from the beginning. Whenever you're starting the for loop beginning, we are selling cell count. We are starting again to 1. Okay, because we are re-entering again to the for loop. Okay, not 7. Okay, again we have to initialize the cell is equal to 1. So now the row is 2 and cell is 1. Here row is 2 and cell is 1. Change the value. So row is 2 and cell is 1. Again from the second row, first data. Again, till the condition is false inside the for loop, we'll be staying inside for loop only. So we are iterating each and every time the cell count. Second cell data in second row, second cell, second row, third cell, second row, fourth cell. Till it is false, I'm going to iterate. In this way, all the rows I'm iterating, and from the each row, I'm iterating the complete cell data. Okay. So once the row is 4, let's say all the fourth data I'm iterating. The row, let's say row is 4, row plus plus 4 plus plus 5. Okay, in that case, what will happen? 5 is less than or equal to 4 will come out of the outer for loop also. And if you have any remaining statements, those will be executed. Okay, from each row, we are trying to print out each cell data. Hope everyone clear, not that confusing. Okay, now let us run this and see what exactly happens. Using getText method, we are trying to print from each TD element. I'm trying to print the data. I got the data, but I got 1 by 1 like this. I want in a table format. So what will happen is, so once I print the each cell data, what I'm doing is, I'll print in not in a separate line, I'll print in the same line, each cell data. So instead of println, I will use print. Okay, so let us see what will happen. Okay. Now everything is printing side by side. It's not showing like each row. Okay. Now once I iterate first row or second row, whatever it is, once I print complete row data, I'll give one line space before going to the next row. Okay. Before going to the next row, what I will do before going to the next row. So once I complete the complete cell data, I will give a one line space. Just start out at println where the cursor will be on the next line before printing the next row. And let me run this. Okay, 4 rows printed. Now each and every cell doesn't have a gap. After printing after getting each and every text from each and every cell, I'll give a space. Okay. After printing each cell data, I'll give a space before printing the next cell data. Okay. First row, second row, third row, fourth row, and this is the first cell, second, third, fourth, fifth, and edit and delete is the sixth. Total 6 cell data from the 4 rows we're able to get it. Okay, in this way we can handle the table data. Any questions? Confusing? Okay, you have to practice. Now you're able to understand, but when you go home, you'll forget. You just need to practice. Any questions, guys? Please respond.
No, sir.
Okay. So that's about the web tables also. Okay. Okay. I think it was late. So we'll end up the session for today. So if you have any questions, just practice and ask me tomorrow. I'll get it clarified. Okay. So if you have any questions on the today's topics, just practice and let me know if you face any issues. Okay. So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining the session. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.